10 years ago, I was drowning in credit card debt. I couldn't afford my daughter's dance classes. That's the moment that things changed for me. So I'm going to share the top 10 lessons that my wife and I learned. Coming up. Hey, welcome to Making Better Sense, where I've dedicated this site to really being able to demystify money and being able to talk about personal finances in a really plain speak manner. I'm Marco. I'm a husband, a father of two very wonderful girls, and today we're going to get really personal. My story is that after 16 years of working in IT, because of my personal journey in personal finances, I made the leap into investments and insurance because I really want to help other people that were in my shoes. Now, what happened to me is that over 10 years ago, while working in IT, I was commuting back and forth from Niagara to Toronto, and I didn't have a good concept over how money worked. I didn't have a good concept over how my credit worked, how interest rate worked, and I really didn't think much about it. I just thought I got paid and I spend money and life is life. Until I realized that I had two credit cards that were fully maxed out. Now, I generally tried to work with my bank card first, but once my bank card kept getting declined, I would immediately default to a credit card. And then the inevitable day happened where I was just running out of money. Embarrassingly, and this is where things changed in my life, is that I had to go and ask my mother for grocery money. Now, as a 30-year-old, that's pretty embarrassing, so I'm bearing my soul here. So from there, that's when my wife sat me down and says, you can't keep doing this. The amount of debt you're putting onto this family is untenable. So what did we do? She sat me down. We started writing everything out. We came up with a plan, and we literally had to find new ways of living and associating ourselves with our different expenses and how to do the best with what we had. It's been a long journey. Now, these are our personal top 10 tips for personal finances. And I say our, because although I'm the face in front of the camera, my wife was very instrumental in helping me get to where I am today. And without Gail, I wouldn't be here today. So here we go. Top 10 of our personal tips for your personal finances. Let's go. Number 10, educate yourself. Best thing I ever did was learn about money. First thing I did was I started reading books, and among the first books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That completely changed how I associated to money and how I associated to assets and liabilities. Up until that point, I thought my car, my house, I thought that they were assets, and in fact, they are liabilities, especially the house that you live in. It's equity, but it's not an asset because it's not bringing you in money. Rental property is an asset, but not the house you live in. You are consuming it, you are using it, you need to repair it, you need to fix it. It's a liability. If things go wrong, you're out of a house. You need to find another place to live. So primary residence is not an asset. Cars are not an asset. I used to think cars, unless you have cars and you're renting them out and earning from those cars, cars are not an asset. They're a liability. You drive them, you use them, they depreciate in value. I really had to change how I associated to these things, and that was very key to my recovery. My mom and my wife, mainly my mom, was one of my first teachers. She tried to drill in me the concepts of money, saving for a rainy day. I was young, immature. I wasn't ready to learn. But once I was a father and a husband, fear of letting my wife down was a real big motivator. So my wife sat me down and we started writing everything out. She started teaching me what she knew about money and how she associated to money. And that was great. once YouTube came out, the YouTube classroom is phenomenal. I love listening to and watching videos such as According to Nicole, Well Built Wealth, Parallel Wealth, a couple of really great content creators, which I encourage you to seek out. The truth is financial education is financial freedom. The more you learn about how money works and the more you learn about different aspects of money, the better decisions you're going to be able to make. The more you learn, the more empowered you become. But you just need to make that conscious decision to learn. Number 9, be a better shopper. I want to make sure that I preface this. I'm not saying don't go out and buy anything. I'm just saying be a better shopper. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Wait until your mind answers that. Be silent. Do I really need this? Avoid emotional purchases. My wife and I were once targeted by a wonderful salesperson. I wish I could have hired her to work for me because she was incredible. She completely tugged on our emotional heartstrings. She was selling an educational package that cost over $3,000. We were young, we were a little stupid, and we wanted to give the best to our daughter. So we bought the $3,000 educational system. It sat on our shelf. We never, ever used it. About 10 years after that, we simply donated it to, I think it was Salvation Army or the thrift store. $3,000 wasted. It was an emotional purchase because tugging on our heartstrings. Avoid those emotional purchases. Wait 24 hours after you want to buy something to see if you still really think you want that. Another way to be a better shopper is to buy in bulk. Costco is your best friend. It was my best friend. We would buy those club packs of chicken, and we started off really meek and meager. We would buy Ziploc bags and divide up that chicken for later use rather than buying chicken as we needed it. I even got so cheap as to cut the tenders out because my daughter loves chicken fingers. We had an extra meal out of all of that. I'm Italian, and sometimes I'm cooking for just my wife and I if the kids weren't home, or sometimes I'm cooking for 6 or 7 people if my brother, his wife, and the kids come over. It really is a crapshoot in my house. So we had to be able to have a lot of food, very inexpensively bought, at the go. Now we don't use Ziplocs anymore. We've invested in a proper vacuum sealer because we've developed the habit of processing those foods as they come into the house. But you don't need a vacuum sealer. Ziploc bags work great too. I also learned to sharpen my own knives. That way I buy the entire New York strip loin and I cut them up into beautiful 1.5-inch steaks, put them out on my barbecue. It's the difference of paying $15 a pound, which is around $33 a kilogram, to $10 a pound, which is around $22 a kilogram. By being able to buy in bulk, I'm buying better quality food, I'm processing it myself, and I'm eating great meals. I know I don't need more meals, but it's great, high quality food. I'm not saying don't buy, but become smarter at it. Many things you can buy used off of Facebook. A lot of power tools that I've bought and used off of Facebook. This microphone, used off of Facebook. There's a lot of things that I have that are used, and they're just as good, and I'm not going to pay top dollar for that. Number 8, plan for retirement. You have to be able to put money away today for tomorrow. We can't be working until we're 80, 90 years old. So we want to be able to plan for our retirement, plan for a day when we are not actively drawing an income from a job. A really great way to do that is through our RSPs, Registered Retirement Savings Plans, which are a tax deferral vehicle that defer the tax from today to a time when you're earning less money. So the way it works is if you earn $50,000 this year, and you put away $10,000 into our RSPs, you're only going to be taxed on $40,000. So it lowers the amount of tax that you're paying. The more income you make, the more value you're going to see in that. The way it works here in Canada is that 18% of last year's income can be put towards our RSPs. If you don't put the full 18% towards it, that can carry over to the year after. It does not expire. Take a look at your notice of assessment to see how much contribution room you have and try hard to max it out. You can try. Another thing is employer RRSP matching programs. So most employers, they don't have a pension anymore, but if you contribute to the employee RRSP program, they will match a certain percentage of that. That is free money. I can't begin to tell you how awesome that is to have somebody else begin to pay for your retirement. Take advantage of it. When I first started at my work, I didn't take advantage of it. I didn't understand. But once I realized, I signed up and I maxed it out. They give me the maximum they can every year. Another thing that you can do to plan for your retirement is to buy assets you can use to sell later. I know people that have a hobby of collecting old collectibles, and they sell them at a profit later on. In the meantime, they enjoy their collection. But you can also, so you can make it fun. It doesn't have to be a stick in the mud. Now, you can also be a stick in the mud and buy really, really good things by buying stocks, bonds, EFTs. You can get into real estate. I know someone that buys gold exclusively. They buy gold bars when its cost is somewhat low, and they wait and store it away. He plans on retiring with that. Eventually, he's going to start selling it off slowly, and that's going to fund his retirement. He's pretty confident in that. Another way to think about your retirement or to have money coming in later on is by working out some of your intellectual property, IP of some sort. Whether you want to do YouTube videos, if that's going to make you some money, write a book, or whatever that intellectual property is. Things like royalties can provide a passive income later on in life. It does take time for those things to get going. So consider turning one of your side hustles into maybe some intellectual property down the road. If you're wondering when a good time to start thinking about your retirement is, yesterday is the answer. Number 7, track your credit score. Key, very key to your financial rehabilitation. Your credit score affects how you get approved for a mortgage, what your interest rate is on the credit cards. If you have a lower score, you might be deemed as at risk. You're going to be paying probably a higher insurance premium or a higher interest rate on your cards. You really don't want that low credit score. In Canada, you can check your credit score by going to Equifax or TransUnion. How you pay your bills and how consistently you pay your bills affects your credit score. If you miss payments or you're late on payments, your credit score will suffer. It will go down. Now, credit score ranges all the way up to a score of 900. Anything 850 is excellent. Anywhere between 670 and 730, well, that's good, and everything is everywhere in between. It's very, very important. Pay your bills on time and manage your credit score wisely. Number 6, live below your means. This sounds obvious, but it's not. We're in a consumer-based society. Everyone is addicted to social media, especially with other people promoting their lifestyle. You see watches, cars, houses, clothes. It's hard to keep up with that. Jewelry. It took me a long time to figure out that if you only earn $10, don't spend $11. Subscriptions eat away at your wealth. We are dominated by a subscription-based society. Everywhere they want to charge you $9 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. That eats away at your monthly cash flow. It adds up. They're wealth killers. Likewise, if you are using a delivery service to bring you your meals to the house, like Uber Eats or DoorDash, the prices on Uber Eats and DoorDash for any of the places you're ordering from are higher than if you go in restaurant to order that food and take it out. They charge a premium because they're charged a premium by those companies. You're also paying a delivery charge. You also have to tip the driver. That cuts into your grocery budget. That cuts into your cash flow. You're paying for the convenience of having it delivered. If you eat out very often, eating out is healthy, every once in a while, but not when you're doing it 3 meals a day like I was once doing it. You've got to ask yourself the question, what do you want more? Long-term financial freedom or short-term comfort? Number 5, invest wisely. Now, people will argue about the definition of investment because everyone has their own idea. And a lot of people say, you become your own bank, invest in crypto. And I always want to put the brakes on that. What invest wisely means is to choose an investment strategy that matches your comfort level and your risk level that also outpaces Canada's inflation rate. Now, in 2024, Canada's inflation rate was 2.4%. If you think about having your money in a bank account that earns less than 1%, that means you're losing money or you're losing the buying power of that money. So, for example, if you have $1,000 in the bank and you're only getting 1% or less, that means next year that $1,000 is only worth $986. You are losing the value of your money. So invest in a method that outpaces inflation. Sit with your financial advisor. They will help you come up with goals and a strategy that's comfortable for you. There's a bunch of different vehicles that you can use, a tax-free savings account or a TFSA, which will allow your money to grow tax-free. And when you withdraw the money, it's not taxed, which is a great way. RRSPs, or Registered Retirement Savings Plan, is a great tax deferral. I've covered it already for retirement, but you're basically paying less taxes today and you're deferring that to a time when you're earning less money. Take a look at mutual funds or segregated funds in order to shore up some of those investments. Perhaps you might want to consider an insurance product that has a cash value, like whole life or universal life. The way it works is that you're not just paying a life insurance premium, but you're over contributing to that policy, which helps build an investment cash value. Now, that cash value you can use to access cash in your retirement. You can leverage it later on to buy additional assets that can help you as well. Or you can use it as an emergency backup fund in case unforeseen things happen. You want to make sure that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's good to do a number of these different things and invest in a number of these different vehicles. Don't just save your money. Make sure it grows. Number 4, reduce your debt. I can't begin to tell you how important this was to my recovery. Reduce your debt, critical. Most credit cards have you paying 19 to 26% interest. That means if you're only making the minimum payment on your credit card, you're paying 4, 5, 6 times what you originally paid for it or what you originally charged. You need to be able to avoid bad debt. And what's bad debt? If you're making impulse purchases on your credit card, you're charging vacations and paying it off slowly over time to your credit card. Loans are payday loans. They'll kill you. But even education can be a bad debt. I can just hear everyone in the comments right now. Education being a bad debt. How is that? Well, most people, 1 in 5 university graduates, work in jobs that only require a high school diploma. There's a lot of university graduates that I know that do not work in their field. They don't need their education to do what they're currently doing. Now, that's bad debt. You could have used that money, invested somewhere else. Average student debt is anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000, depending on what you're studying. Now, education can be a good debt. Good debts include things like rental properties, things that make you money, investing in your business. But education could also be a good debt. If you're using your education to earn money or get a career that requires an education, like a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, that's good debt. That's great university spent money. But if you're not going to do that, you could use that money probably somewhere else. If you are drowning in debt and you have too much out there, you might want to consider consolidation loan or a line of credit to consolidate all of that into one payment. Free up some of your cash flow, which can go to paying your debt down quickly. The key thing here is to keep in mind is that you can't build wealth if you're buried in debt. All right, we're down to the top 3. Number 3, automate your savings. In an age of technology, this is key. Out of sight, out of mind. All bank accounts can schedule transactions. You can schedule transactions so that you're pulling money aside during each and every pay cycle to put it aside, whether it's in a tax-free savings account, or RSP, or into a vacation fund. So you're saving for a vacation instead of charging it. David Chilton's The Wealthy Barber. He recommends that you take 10% from your income and put it aside in order to pay yourself. It's a great concept. Put it aside. Don't touch it. That will be your investment for later on in life. That could be your emergency fund or money that you use to reinvest yourself. Startup money for a business. Consider online banks that pay you back more interest, like EB Bank or Koho. I'm a huge fan for Koho. They pay 4% interest if you're part of their everything package. They're not a sponsor, so please do your own research. But get more than just that minimum 1% that the bank is giving you. Make it automatic. You can have these roundup features that every time you purchase, it rounds you up to the next dollar, the next $5, the next $10. I have a friend that uses that roundup feature, and they save for all of their vacations just through that roundup feature. It rounds up to the next dollar, and it makes it effortless, out of sight, out of mind. The key here is to be consistent. Number 2, have an emergency fund. Financial experts say that you should have between 3 and 6 months of emergency money set aside. You got to ask yourself, if my income stops today, how can I keep paying for my expenses? How long can I keep that up? You need to have that goal of 3 to 6 months. Once you get to that 3 to 6 months, don't stop there. Aim to have 6 to 12 months. You can put some of that money aside into some different investments for a rainy day. You might also consider some insurance products like disability insurance or critical illness insurance, just in case something happens that will provide you money in order to help you pay for your expenses while you're recovering from either an illness or a disability. It's very important to have a plan. Do you have a plan? We're down to the number 1. Number 1 top tip that my wife and I learned. Create a budget and track your expenses. Now, you don't need fancy software for this. This can be done with a pen and paper. And when my wife and I first started doing this, it was with a pen and paper. We would have these blanks that we'd print out every month. We wrote down how much money we were getting and what bills we had to pay out. Now, my wife is a fan of Gail Vazoxlad's Till Debt Do Us Part. She introduced us to the jar system, where we take money and we put it into a specific jar. The grocery jar, the insurance jar, the dance jar, the coffee jar. We lived a cash life for a very, very, very long time until COVID happened. Once COVID happened and people didn't want to accept money anymore, I had to bring everything to the bank, and I started using a spreadsheet. Now, Google Sheets is great and it's free. That's all I use nowadays. No fancy apps. If you are an app person and you prefer to use an app, there's not very many free apps that I've been able to find, but there's some pretty decent inexpensive ones that I've liked and I have used, like Good Budget or Pocket Guard or Empower. Those are a few of them. I haven't tried them all, but I've tried Good Budget. It's really, really good. But again, you have to pay money for that, right? So they only give you X amount free. Tracking your spending is a habit, just like spending is. You need to be able to become good at it. It's actually quite hard to do it at the beginning, but it becomes very, very easy as you go on in life. You'd be shocked at how much of your spend you catch that's frivolous. I know people, and I was guilty of it at one point, going to Tim Hortons every day, but I know folks that go to Starbucks and get caramel macchiato every day at $6.50 for a venti. That's over $2,300 per year. You can take small vacation with that type of money. So tracking your spending will show you bluntly exactly what you're spending your money on. The hard truth is that there's no substitute over daily vigilance, period. You need to be able to track your money. You need to know what you're spending your money on so that you can make better decisions on what you spend your money on. So I want to leave you with, don't be discouraged. It's very easy to fail at a lot of these tips, and sometimes it's going to take you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attempts with some of these tips in order to succeed. So don't be discouraged. Keep at it. Make learning about finances part of your daily life. Try and look at least one new video every day, trying to learn a new concept every day. The most important thing I can tell you is to be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself about what's going on in your finances, because you're only lying to yourself. It takes more than a bunch of tips to really get this right. It takes action, and you're going to need to learn to decide. Yes, learn to decide. That's an actual skill that you need to learn to do. Decide to take steps towards your financial freedom. Reach out to a financial advisor in your area. If you're here in Southern Ontario and you'd like to talk more about that with me, I'll put my details in the comments below so you guys can reach out to me as well, and I'll answer any of your questions as well. That's it from me, guys. You guys all know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments which tip was your favorite, or if you guys have any tips that you guys use on there. I want to hear more about it. Until next time, let's make better sense together, everyone.